ज़्यादा था। की प्रॉब्लम हुई थी जब माइग्रेंट वर्कर्स की, तो उन्होंने कहा था कि आप लोग एसोसिएशन को मोबिलाइज कीजिए और जगह जगह फूड कॉर्पोरेशन ऑफ इंडिया के लेकर आप सबको एक स्टैंडर्ड खाना दीजिए और सारे डिस्ट्रिक्ट कलेक्टर्स को अंदर एमपीओ तक। तो वो तो अच्छा चला था, सब जगह उन्होंने
वही सारा काम फिर से नए सिरे से कर दिया और नाइस प्रॉपर
दूसरा तो रहेगा
तो अकेले गए तो सभी चीज़ों के लिए अच्छा है। बिल्डिंग होती है, बीमारियाँ कंजेशन वगैरह ये वो इन सब की ये सब कम होती है। तो ये सारे हफ्ते तो जो है ये ब्लेसिंग इन जैसे देखते हैं कैसे क्या करते हैं उस हिसाब से। बड़ी बात हो जाती है सोसाइटी के अंदर। ये सब लोग कहीं पे भी खड़े होकर बोलेंगे, टीवी पे बोलेंगे, यहाँ वहाँ बोलेंगे कि व्हाट द हेल आर यू डूइंग। तो मतलब समझाना भी पड़ेगा कि भाई इज लाइक एनी अदर इलनेस जो है वो इसमें स्पेशल बात की तो उसका थोड़ा ट्रांसमिशन रेट थोड़ा ये सुबह शाम में जो है रेट सबसे इम्प्रूव हो रहे हैं। कल मैं शाम को टीवी पे था, देख के गया।
Niti Aayog is very honored to have with us our distinguished Health Minister, Dr. Harshvardhan ji. He's firstly a minister, but more than that, he's a doctor who's leading this fight from the front and who's been working non-stop day and night to meet this challenge of COVID-19. We are very honored to have him with us to interact with all the NGOs who are registered on NGO Darpan. We have some of you who will be coming on the screen, but a lot of NGOs all over India will be tuned into this session and they will be asking questions which will keep coming to us and we will be asking the Honorable Minister. So Honorable Minister, let me first congratulate you on this excellent work which Government of India has done and has managed to ensure that we are able to move from about roughly 3 days to about 12 and a half days of doubling, and more than that our total incidence and our mortality rate has been amongst the lowest considering that we are such a large and vast country. And a lot of hard work has been put in behind this. I would also like to thank all the NGOs for constantly being in touch with us and working very hard. I would like you to first address the NGOs and tell them what we can work together, how we can partner ourselves together to meet this challenge.
Thank you, Amitabh ji. I feel so privileged and happy. It's really beyond my vocabularies to describe the amount of satisfaction I enjoy right now interacting with, as I have been told, something like 92,000 NGOs working selflessly day in and day out for the last 2-3 months to ensure that we have a decisive victory over COVID-19 in India. And as a result of the hard work of not only the people in the government, I think it's because of the hard work of all of you, the selfless COVID-19 soldiers. I would also call you the Corona warriors who are working so hard continuously. So let me first of all thank you on behalf of the government, more particularly my dear Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji, all of us in the Health Ministry for extending such a great helping hand to the cause of COVID-19 mitigation. I have really no words to express my gratitude to Amitabh Kantji, because he is the one who, in the last meeting of group of ministers, he had elaborated in great detail your contribution to the cause of this particular movement, and he had described to the group how selflessly you have been working throughout the country, going out in difficult situations, trying to ensure the availability of food to millions of deserving and needy people in the society. And you have been doing it in a very meticulous and sincere manner. So hats off to all of you. First of all, Amitabh ji said, I must give you a brief introduction of what we are doing. You are already familiar with what we have been doing from the day one. But even then, I would just briefly summarize so that you all who are working in the field have a fair amount of idea about the efforts of your own government towards this cause. Just to go back into the history a little bit, you all know that it was on 31st of December that China had reported for the first time to the world that they had seen some cases of pneumonia, which they thought were of unknown etiology. But then within 7 days of that, China had in fact told the World Health Organization and of course through the WHO to the whole world that they have been able to diagnose what it is. And they thought there was a new coronavirus in this world, which is actually causing great amount of trouble for the Chinese in the Wuhan province. I must tell you that, and I feel pride in saying that, we were the first country in the whole world to have reacted and to have taken notice of that news on 7th of January. Within less than 24 hours, we in the Health Ministry called a meeting of our group of experts, which has all the top people, the public health experts, the DGHS, people from WHO, the epidemiologists, and whosoever could be relevant. And this is a committee which meets regularly throughout the year whenever there is any disease outbreak within the country also, to assess and analyze and plan immediate strategies. And on 8th itself we had discussed about it. Within the next 7 days, the Health Ministry had already formulated detailed plans to issue advisories to all the states about our health preparedness and what we should be doing. You will feel happy in appreciating that this was all happening when there was no sign or symptom of any case in India. Just to recall, our first case in India was reported on 30th of January, the day when WHO also declared it as an emergency of international health concern. So on 17th itself, we did 3 things. Number 1, issued detailed advisories to all the states. We also started our community health surveillance. We got in touch with the Indian Embassy in China. We requested them to send us all the names of the people who are coming and leaving that place to India particularly. And also we planned to start thermal screening at our 7 international airports for people who were coming from China and Hong Kong. And this is a process which got started, and we have never looked back from that day. From the moment we got the first case in India, that was on 30th of January, and the second case was on 1st of February, the Prime Minister had constituted a group of ministers under the Health Minister, and with all our senior ministers and senior bureaucrats there in that committee. This group of ministers has already met 13 times, and in the last meeting, Mr. Amitabh Kant also reported in great detail your great work that you, the great NGOs and the dedicated people are doing all over the country. In last 2-3 months, you have seen a lot of activities happening. We not only started screening on the airports, starting from 7 airports, we went up to all the 30 airports. Starting from screening of passengers from few countries, it ultimately went up to all passengers from all countries all across the world. Then graded detailed advisories to passengers likely to go out of the country or likely to come inside the country. And then ultimately we banned all flights coming from all places on 19th of March, and we had the last passenger entering India on 23rd March at 8 o'clock. We screened over 15 lakh passengers traveling in 15,000 flights. And it was not only these passengers in the flights, but we also screened people at our borders. In the initial stages, when we had the first case of coronavirus reported in Nepal, we immediately started screening on our borders. And on our borders, we screened over 20 lakh people. It was just a huge Herculean task that our people performed. And it was not only this, because we thought that the border could be porous. We simultaneously organized more than 5,000 Gram Sabhas in the nearby villages, adjoining villages. And not only this, we ensured that we are screening every passenger coming through the sea route also. So at our 12 major seaports and 65 non-major seaports, we again screened something like 47,000 passengers. And as I had mentioned to you earlier, we started our community surveillance on 17th of January itself. Our first case, a medical student, 20-year-old, was detected only because of this community surveillance and detailed contact tracing. And in the initial stages itself, if I have to describe you, my third patient, for which we had done contact tracing of 162 people. The passenger boarded from China, landed in Calcutta, from Calcutta to Bangalore, from Bangalore to Kochi, and during the course of this, traveled in 2 trains, stayed in 2 hotels, changed airports, changed taxis. But we did a contact tracing of all this, which meant tracing 162 people. This was the level at which we had started operating, and at any point of time during the course of the last 3 months, there had been over a lakh of people under community surveillance. Today itself, when I talk to you, over 9 lakh people are under community surveillance. On 21st, 22nd and 23rd March, 64,000 people had landed at various airports in India, and we had to organize quarantine for these 64,000 people, whether home or institutional. Our health workers, our surveillance officers in the field, in the district, they all did it so well with the help of our rapid response teams, our staff in the medical colleges, our All India Institute people, our health department officials in the states, at the center, and all this, of course, being guided, monitored and blessed by our own Prime Minister with the help of his office and also the Cabinet Secretariat. So it was a huge operation that we had to enter into in the last 3 months, with total cooperation of the whole government. And then you saw the great dynamic leadership of our Prime Minister, where he made up the mind of the country and prepared them for the lockdown by organizing the Janta curfew, and also then the lockdown 1 and the lockdown 2 you have seen. And what a brilliant idea it was. He apprehended, he had anticipated, and that was the time when we had started having these stigma type of news in the system, ostracization of the medical community. And in a brilliant manner he appealed to the people of India to pay their compliments and tributes to the medical profession at 5 o'clock on 22nd of March. So we have all seen this happening in the country. This is all going to be part of history for the future. And we saw the problems also. We saw the migrant labor issues, we saw the Tablighi issues. But thanks to the contribution of great people like you all over the country, I think voluntary organizations, social organizations, NGOs, right-thinking people, committed people, dedicated people, honest people, people who have a compassionate heart, they all came out and they all helped the government, they helped the society, they helped the poor laborers, they helped the cause of the migrant laborers. And I think this is all because of the cooperation of the people in the society and this societal cooperation that we could ultimately handle most of these very complex and complicated issues related to the migrant laborers, etc. And today, you know, all through this, the Prime Minister has been in touch with all the leaders of the whole world. He got in touch with the leaders in the Southeast Asia region. He got in touch with all the senior international leaders. I also had the privilege to be video conferencing with all the health ministers of the whole world on 2 occasions. Today itself in the evening we are doing another one with the help of WHO and also with the Southeast Asia region health ministers, and also had the privilege to present the performance of India before the whole world. So we have been in touch with the whole world. We had been in touch with the World Health Organization. As Health Ministry and as central government, we had been regularly in touch with the state governments, the state health ministers. I had been organizing video conferences with the health ministers regularly. The Prime Minister has been doing it regularly with the chief ministers. So it's a description of a total synergy, enthusiasm and sincerity of not only the government but also the society, and the government on the government's appeal, Prime Minister's appeal, the society has behaved, I think, quite well, leaving few exceptions which certainly you cannot you have to ultimately live with them. But our earnest desire is that in whatever form we have the lockdown, if we respect the guidelines of the lockdown, and if you as NGOs ensure that they are respected well, I think it helps and adds very, very positive momentum to this COVID-19 war. So right now, this is just a brief account of the last 3 months. Right now, my very sincere appeal, I feel that there are 2-3 issues which are very important right now, which are troubling us and which give a lot of pain to our heart also. One is, of course, the stigma around the patients, also the way the patients who unfortunately contract COVID infection, the way they are being treated, sometimes even by their own family members, even by their own neighbors, even by the people living in the same society. And then, of course, the stigmatization and the way the medical community is also being harassed. And it was harassed to the extent that we had over a dozen or 2 dozen cases in the country, and the government had to ultimately resort to putting an amendment in the Indian Epidemics Act of 1898 or so, whereby we have ensured that anybody who harasses a medical professional or causes any hurt to the medical professional in any form, he is subjected to even imprisonment up to 7 years. So that is the level of sincerity of the government that we want. But we know that everything cannot be solved with the help of law. And when the government says something, it has a different meaning altogether. But if well-meaning people like you talk about stigma and how the COVID patients are as I think as good as you all and we all in the society. It's not a disease where we subject them to so much of harassment and inhuman treatment. I think that is not only that they are not only isolated incidents, but they are bringing bad name to the country also. And the way the medical professionals and incidents of harassment of medical professionals is also going on, I think we need very active, very dynamic support from all of you, apart from over and above what you are already doing. And right now I feel that now there is going to be some relaxation, which we have seen yesterday itself. The Home Ministry had issued some guidelines. There is going to be a huge transfer of these migrant laborers and other stranded people all across the country. So this will involve a lot of movement of people from one place to other place, and there will be a requirement of a lot of help from the society to reorganize them again back in their own hometowns, to ensure that they are adequately quarantined, tested, given the right guidance and proper cooperation from the society, because there could be some resistance in the society when they go back. So this is where I see a very, very strong and positive and dynamic role from you all, thousands of committed Corona soldiers in the country. I think you are all very intelligent, and you are already under the guidance of Mr. Amitabh Kant and many other senior people, people like Mr. Amod Kant, and so many are working selflessly very hard about this and are actively in touch with all of you. So I would certainly appeal to you. I know it's not the appeal that's required, you are already doing it. I just thought that I must come and place on record my sincere most appreciation and laud your efforts publicly, so that there are many more people in the society who get inspired to do similar good work like the one that you all are doing. I know there are many other NGOs who may not be in this scheme of things right now who are connected with me, but through you I wish to convey to everyone in Indian society who has been helping us in this big cause, this big fight against COVID, and I can assure you that we have gone quite ahead towards winning this war against COVID. All our parameters are so well as compared to the rest of the world, and I'm sure that in the coming few weeks we should be able to score a decisive war against COVID-19. So with these few words, I know I took a little more time, but the story of the last 3 months is so big that I can keep on talking and talking. But once again, thanks all of you for giving me this opportunity to be with all of you. Namaskar.
Thank you, sir. I'll first request Mr. Matthew Cherian of HelpAge India, who's done a lot of work in the field, to give his comments.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Minister. HelpAge, we have been working across the country, and we have 160 medical vans which have been now working tirelessly during the period, because our people whom we are treating are geriatric patients and patients who need intense care due to NCD and other issues. And thanks to Niti Aayog and Amitabh Kantji, we were able to transport medicine to the far corners, because there is a shortage of medicines in many of the rural areas. And we had to use the good offices of Niti Aayog to get medicines to these quarters. Secondly, we are seeing that in the aspirational districts, the 115 aspirational districts, there is very little geriatric cover going on. We are present in about 12 aspirational districts, and in the other districts we are finding that there is very little cover. For example, if there is even a patient with pulmonary problem and there is no transport available to the district hospital, and they have to be transported, and some of our vans are being used as ambulances to take them to the district hospital. And of course, if there is a treatment possible, they are treated there, and then they have to be brought back to the villages. So my, of course, request to the Honorable Minister is if you could also request these district hospitals to put on little more effort, because we find it quite weak. And then there are 3 states which I find have been very difficult. One is of course been Haryana, another one has been Uttar Pradesh, and the third one has been Telangana. These 3 states have been blocking many of our workers, not issuing permissions and also passes during the COVID. So I'm going to stop here. This is briefly the work. We've also been feeding food to a lot of geriatric people, and now we are distributing dry rations in many of our old age homes and in our districts where elderly also are going without much of food.
I am very much familiar with HelpAge. I have been associated with your activities for over 25 years now in my own constituency, and I know that you do good quality work for the our senior people in the society. So you have brought this issue of some local, handicaps that you encounter for distributing medicines, etc. So number one, I would say that if you will bring some specific issues to us, we will certainly bring it to the attention of the local authorities, because we are in touch with the all the authorities in the country through almost daily video conferencing at all levels. So we'll certainly bring it to their attention. You have also mentioned about Haryana, UP and Telangana. I think fortunately these are the states who are quite in a very stringent and very, I think, disciplined manner. They are trying to enforce the guidelines of lockdown and all. In a way, as a health minister, I feel very happy about their stringent implementation of the lockdown in these states, and I have on record appreciated the UP government for doing that, and right now the Haryana is also following that way. It's not that the others are not doing well, everybody is trying to do well. But in any case, specifics to your issue, we will certainly flag them to the relevant authorities. And just to bring it to everybody's attention that we are now, very well placed in the sense we have a great and good quality classification of all the districts in the country right now. And we have these districts divided into, say, 129 districts in the country are hotspots. And there are around 297 districts which we call as non-hotspot districts. These are the districts where we have very few minimal cases, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at the most. And then there are something like over 300 districts which are like unaffected districts. And we have put them in 3 categories like red zone, orange zone, and green zone. So for those districts with hotspots, we are like helping them to get into the orange zone if they don't have a case for next 14 days. And for those in the orange zone, if they don't have a case for next 14 days, they go into the green zone. So our endeavor has been to see that more and more districts, they change their zones in terms of their classification. They go into a better zone from red to orange and from orange to green. So right now the good thing is that we know very accurately where our enemy is in the country, and we know how to deal with our enemy, and all our forces together, they are trying to beat the enemy. And any good information that we get from anywhere, it is always welcome. And this is where we would love to have any significant new information that might have escaped the attention of the government from the NGOs like you, who are quite vigilant to the cause. So as far as your basic issue that you raised, if you would let us know through Mr. Amitabh Kant or through whatever route, we will specifically also find the remedial action. Thank you so much for your intervention.
Thank you, sir. Can I go to Ms. Nandini Azad, please? Can I go to Dr. Nandini Azad?
I would like to focus on women. I'd like to come right to the thing. I know the corona numbers are very partial to men, and there is a gender sensitivity that women are, a little bit better. I'm going to talk to you, sir, about community transmission, stage 3. So I did a quick survey in the last 3 days. I am president of the Working Women's Forum and the Indian Cooperative Network for Women. We have 6 lakh workers, informal sector workers in the 4 states of South India except Kerala. So we work from Maharashtra border up to Rameshwaram. So we have a huge, a mass of women. So I took 10,000 women's data very quickly on the telephone and SMS. And I have some good news for you that, this sample is our loanies. If our staff and cooperative society too. And we have found that none of these people's relatives or friends, etc., have had corona. The second thing is there's a huge divide between the village and the town. In the villages that we work, for example, in Andhra Pradesh, in East and West Godavari districts, for example, in 200 of our villages in that 3 districts, not a single case among our own people and otherwise. So you see in the town areas by comparison, it is much more. So here's a great opportunity for us to contain it further. Congratulations, sir, on the government having done this. I'm talking about very remote areas so that I give you some supply side information. The other thing I'd like to tell you, sir, is that in the coastal districts of Tanjore, Adirampatnam in Tamil Nadu, they've now coined a new thing for corona patients. They call it the VIP patients. Meaning, as Mr. Matthew Cherian said earlier, the other diseases and infection seems to be on one side, but these patients are getting excellent treatment. People are coming to their homes and they're going to their hospitals. So therefore, the second point is reinforced that excellent intervention at the level. These are fisherwomen that we work there, and this is what they have done. Now, the third thing I'd like to talk to you about is food security and malnourishment. It's now 34 days from the corona virus. Mr. David Nabarro had called us last week, just 2 of us in India, and I've given him a grassroots report exactly on all these food security conditions. And one of the things that we are noticing, sir, and that's known to all of us, between livelihood and income and malnourishment and food security. Until we are going to open up, like MHA, we're waiting for MHA orders on the 4th, that will show that we've got fishermen now, we've got fruit, vegetable vendors, pump shopkeepers, everybody out. But there is a stigma. The fish sellers, nobody is buying fish in the shore of Marina, which I'm very near in Chennai. There is a stigma. So the fish catch is there, they're selling it, they're not happening. So many of these stigmas on livelihood are important because the women's livelihood income is very important to the malnourishment. Plant protein, iron, these are the things. So therefore, whatever rations that are going, most of them are going well, except in the case of pulses in 1 or 2 states. So that 25% has gone and some haven't. But what is the problem is 1,000 rupees that is being given is useful. But when everybody is there in a family size of 5 or 6, that's difficult. The gas is okay, everything else is okay, sir. Now what they have gone to and what we are educating them, moringa, the drumstick, is very good in iron. All the local plant protein as well as iron sources, we are making sure that they get it because we have 6 lakh workers. Now, the other thing I want to say is, sir, the one positive effort is, as you said yesterday, sir, that you have to look at this as an opportunity. One is the Ayurveda. Now, the Ayurveda and the Ayush department thinks that the food security is increasing. The immunity is increasing among the very poor women because ginger, turmeric, all these things are very much available. But I'd like to say, sir, on a war footing, the Ayush must now pick up the traditional medicine now and have awareness through that everything is available there. Once you build the immunity, we see that out of our 10,000 random sampling, nobody's got it, touch wood. But however, sir, so this is something that we must focus on better. The other thing I would like to say, sir, this rations that were given, this has been the thin stream between hunger and starvation. It's been an amazing job that this government has done. Very compassionate handling of macro and micro situations, as I've never seen in independent India. Really, I mean, because, I told Mr. Navarro that they have done a tremendous job. The other good news for us is the alcoholism is down. Because once the shops are closed, there is no income. Therefore, the correlated thing is the violence at home is getting a little bit less. Thank you very much, sir. Grateful for your opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Nandini. Most of what you have said is all good news and good, I think, information from the suburbs and the villages of India, and more particularly from the south. So I will not comment on each one of them, but certainly two things. In the initial stages you mentioned about the PPEs and the N95 masks. So let me tell you that this coronavirus pandemic has proved to be a blessing in disguise for India, because earlier we were not manufacturing these PPEs in India. Right now we have enabled, and by hand holding we have created 108 manufacturers in the country, and every day we are producing 1.5 lakh PPEs in the country. And similarly, for the N95 masks also, we have got 10 manufacturers now, and again we are producing more than a lakh every day. So there is adequate, supply for PPEs and N95s. Every day we are distributing to the states. We have given guidelines for rational use of PPEs and N95 masks also. So that is what needs to be disseminated to the people. Then you also mentioned about Ayush. You know, Ayush has already issued, guidelines for some medicines or the natural things to be taken, which are going to enhance the immunity of the people. The Prime Minister has also propagated those things. And in our ministry, ICMR and Ayush, we got over 125 proposals from different people in the country, and from that we have chosen the best few proposals, and now we are going to do a clinical trial of all these techniques or suggestions given by the Ayush people in a very scientific manner, so that if there is a need, we can propagate them to the whole world in the modern language of science. So that's, I think, another good news for you, because you seem to be a lover of Ayurveda like me. I am a doctor of modern medicine, but I am also a lover of Ayurveda. So thank you so much for all your good suggestions, and especially the fact that you underlined the stigma issues among the fishermen and all that. I think these are the issues which can be taken up well at the societal level with active leadership from you people. And this is what we expect all NGOs like you to do at the societal level. Thank you.
Hardika is asking, is there any plan on the livelihood strategy in aspirational district? Can you please share with us? And sir, there is Raj Lakshmi Malik from Calcutta is asking, sir, while drawing parallels to previously experienced infectious disease, can you help us you have a lot of experience, so can you help us how to dispel fear and generate familiarity with your experience, sir? These are three questions which have come from on the net. I will now turn to Aarti Mohan of Sattva Foundation, and then to Shalja Mehta of Dasra. So Aarti Mohan of Sattva Foundation.
Thank you, sir. I hope I'm audible. Thank you for the opportunity and great work that's being done by the government. So we've been working with 500 plus CSR foundations, NGOs, and orchestrating a coordinated response and supporting states, districts, and cities in their response. So actively, we've been working in Meghalaya, Uttarakhand, Ladakh, Goa, with the Delhi state, now Ranchi and so on, sir, where we are able to bring in CSR funding to support and then orchestrate the demand supply of PPE, prevention and other innovations, and to be able to then make sure that we are reaching the ground, sir. That is one. And two, we've been able to look at, we see the data response is very critical, data-driven response. So looking at what are all the NGOs doing geographically in their areas and projecting that through data dashboards and analytics so that the government can then support the government in overlaying that with their response, whether it's medical emergency or economic response, sir. So I have only three requests of you, sir. One is, we've been working with funds like ACT that have been set up and closely working on PPE prevention, incubation, augmentation, and Arogya Setu. And really looking forward to more, how do we work with more cities and districts in the subsequent phases to drive these innovations and technologies into the war rooms and the help with the response. Two, migrants and their entitlements are not reaching the last mile. We are seeing millions of stranded migrants among the organizations we work with, and organizations are doing their best to raise awareness and give them food, relief, cash, and so on, sir. So any support in easing the digital payments, easing the food and relief to them would be great, sir. Three, when the economy slowly opens up, the small informal entrepreneurs and informal workers would really, their recovery will be very critical, and we're working with those groups, women self-help groups, street vendors and informal entrepreneurs like that. For them, what are some of the financial incentives and some help support as well as policy support so that they can recover and stand on their own feet would be great to understand, sir. So these are my three points. Thank you so much. This is great.
Thank you, Aarti ji. I think you mentioned a couple of issues. First of all, congratulations for helping people in so many states. Your organization, you mentioned about that. You have mentioned about some data issues. I can tell you that today the website of the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, this is probably the most sought after site because every day we get something like 22 to 30 crore, you can say, hits on the website because we update the website every day, twice a day, and you can get clear-cut, best and the latest information from that site about any place in the country. So you must refer to that site to plan your strategies locally. And every day at 4 o'clock we organize regular press conferences to be shared with all the 1.35 billion people. Then Arogya Setu, you mentioned, I want you to basically ensure that every citizen has Arogya Setu downloaded in his or her phone, because this is something which is going to provide you extra, I would say, protection. There is no time to explain that in great detail, but if you come across someone who is a corona positive or a symptomatic person or a potential person, then it gives you a warning. So it's going to help people in a big way, and as many people as if they get this Arogya Setu in their phones, it is going to help the country in a big way. Then regarding the poor people, you know that the Prime Minister had already announced a 1,70,000 crore economic package for the poor, dedicated for the poor. That's called the Garib Kalyankari Yojana by the Prime Minister. And all the poor people are being helped through number of schemes. There is no time to enumerate them, but they are getting the money transferred to their bank accounts. The free cylinders are being given to the gas cylinders are being given to the poor women. Similarly, the older people, the senior citizens and the handicapped, everybody is getting so many things through that package. So if you have any information about any place which needs a little more attention, you can send those complaints to us. We can personally check and ensure that there is no gap or deficit on account of this implementation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Hari Menon of Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and then to Mr. Amod Kant, who from Prayas, so that all of you can be ready, and then we will have Mr. Jagdanand from Orissa. Yes.
Shelja.
Yes.
She is Shelja.
Check. Yeah, Shel.
I'd like to draw attention to the young people of India, especially young girls. Through these times, there has been a lot of support from ministries. We're working closely with MOFHW, but also just wanted to stress here the availability of sanitary napkins as well as contraceptive access is important, and if there is any kind of support that can be provided, civil society as well as the government continue to push for this aspect. That's one. I think the second is to have clear response guidelines in terms of directing helplines and emergency services when there is violence. And thirdly is that we are looking at continually working with the SPCP forum with FOW with a network of 500 organizations and a network of funders, and we would look at bringing a multi-stakeholder group to continue kind of, aligned set of messaging, and happy to work with all forums to be able to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Shelja ji, for your bright suggestions and your concern. I think we are quite well aware of all these concerns which are already even not only during this corona pandemic, otherwise also violence against women and all these relevant issues of various stakeholders. They are already, the government is already well aware of them, and if you have any specific suggestions what the government should do and what we should ask the state governments or the relevant commissions looking after the women's cause and all to be communicated to them, please let us know. All of you can, whosoever are connected with me, you can note down my mobile number and you can text anything on that mobile number, and I can promise you that we will, number one, give it the most, I think, significant attention. So this is 9810115311. I repeat, this is 9810115311. And then second thing is that with the help of Twitter India, we have with the ministry launched a COVID India Seva. COVID India Seva. So if you connect yourself with COVID India Seva, and if you have any specific queries or any specific problems that you want the Ministry of Health to give attention to and to ensure that they are solved. So if you write about them on COVID India Seva, I promise that we have a team of dedicated, learned people helping the cause of COVID India Seva, and we will certainly respond back and see that if there is any suffering of any nature of anyone, we will see that it is alleviated in the shortest possible time. So this is all about it, and I am happy that you raised some very valid concerns of women, and we are all with you on this account. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Honorable Minister, let me just start by congratulating you on the leadership that your ministry has taken on COVID. I think we've had very significant gains through the March 25th period through now from the lockdown, and I think it's critical that we build on these gains. So deeply appreciate the opportunity to engage the national CSO community, because the next phase of India's response once the lockdown starts to get relaxed will really require community engagement. So from the Gates Foundation side, we are, of course, working with the ministry and the states of UP and Bihar to strengthen the health response, the facilities readiness, helping the states develop dashboards to track the epidemic progression. And we are also working on risk communication and community engagement to make sure that myths and misconceptions are addressed and access to the schemes and benefits that the government of India and states have made available to particularly marginalized groups, and those are fully accessed. We are also working with the Ministry of Health on a 360-degree campaign to address stigma and discrimination, which is affecting those health workers as well as people who are affected by COVID, to make sure that the fear that is building up about COVID, that does not get in the way of an effective response. So we are developing content for that, and will work with multiple channels, including CSOs, to make sure it gets to the ground. We have also partnered with the Niti Aayog to create a resource called indiafightscovid.com. It is an open access repository that has content developed by various partners on how to address different elements of the COVID response at community level. It is set up in a way that people can contribute into that, multiple languages, communications materials on different themes, all of the guidelines issued by the government of India, everything is available there as a resource for civil society organizations to use. And so we are also now working on the next level of the R&D part. Given, sir, you also are the Minister of Science and Technology, we are engaging with DBT, DST and others on therapeutics, vaccines and diagnostics, particularly the role that India can play in the global response. So looking at opportunities to partner there. So we are ready and willing and available to partner with the ministry and with NITI and with all the CSOs on this group to make sure that key messages around stigma discrimination get out. We are also supporting surveys, particularly in the aspirational districts alongside the Tata Trusts, to track how the field level situation is, both in terms of what is working as well as challenges, so it's made available to district administration. And we are also strengthening the response in the aspirational districts, working with the NITI and others like TRIF and the Perumal Foundation to make sure that the health and nutrition response in the aspirational districts does not suffer on account of COVID. So thank you so much for the opportunity. We are ready to continue partnering in whatever areas may be priority for the government. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Menon. I know you have highlighted so well the cooperation that you extend to the Government of India and more particularly to the Health Ministry. I have a very fond association with Mr. Bill Gates and Madam Melinda Gates, and also with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation right from the days of polio, and the polio eradication movement of the whole world shall always remain grateful to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation for the support that they have provided to this international movement. And right now I am happy that you are working in close coordination with the ministry for some of the very relevant issues, more particularly about stigma issues, which we need to, I think, nip them in the bud. I think they have to be eradicated right at this stage, because the virus is going to stay in the society, and all the good things that we have, I think, developed or imbibed in ourselves as changed habits, I think if they continue as the new normal of the society, they are going to help the cause of health in a big way, and also take our society in a progressive mode, in a positive direction, in a most, I would say, a one step forward towards a modern society also. So I am happy that you are also working for my Science and Technology Ministry in close coordination with them. And just for the information of the people who are connected here, so I may tell them that in the Science and Technology Ministry also we are working on number of things, whether it is the discovery of new drugs or for repurposing of the old drugs for finding out solutions to COVID-19, also for supporting and helping the cause of vaccine development. We have already half a dozen vaccine candidates. 4 of them are in a significantly advanced stage. We are also in CSIR and the DBT doing the genetic sequencing of the virus at 1,000 places in the Department of Biotechnology, at 500 places in CSIR. So a lot of things are happening there, new startups being supported. And as I had said last week, that maybe in the month of May, we will have indigenous production of good quality antibody test kits and also the kits for detection of virus. I think this all is going to come in the next couple of weeks thanks to our scientists. So thank you once again, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Mr. Menon, for your good work and cooperation.
Thank you.
So, given you were also in the forefront of the polio campaign, so one of the things polio did extremely well was, sewage sampling to test for the polio virus. Now that we are seeing evidence that, the COVID virus is also excreted through the human body and can be found potentially in sewage, it might be interesting to see if, NPSP and the ministry could look at how to do sewage sampling as a complement to the zero surveillance that is being planned, just to give us a sense of the spread of the virus. I just wanted to present that as a thought, sir.
Thank you for your suggestion. We'll put it before the scientists for, further evaluation of your suggestion. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Amod Kant.
No, I was saying that nobody could present better than the Honorable Minister, and you have led from the front. So on behalf of these voluntary organizations, 92,000 of them, I wish to compliment you, and I wish to say that our services are readily able. Already Mr. Amitabh Kant, Niti Aayog has addressed these organizations, 92,000 of them, and they have been activated already. So initially we had some issues in the movement in going to the places we are supposed to go because of the curfew-like conditions. Most of these states have fallen in line. Most of these states, when they were addressed by Mr. Amitabh Kant, the district magistrates and the chief secretaries, they have agreed to take the services of the voluntary organizations, except one state, that is in Bihar. Somehow, they passed some kind of circular which led to some kind of High Court intervention, and the Honorable High Court from Bihar has said that voluntary organizations should be associated. Now, so coming to, you are very much aware of the Prayas activities that we have nearly 200 centers, and we have provided food to almost 120,000 meals have been given already, and 5,000 people are living. They are homeless, the children, they are migrant workers who are living with us, and we are providing good services. That includes that big home. So I'd like to make a point here that there is a need for institutional framework. So, for example, we have got 1098 is the helpline for children. It's a national program, and nearly 3 lakh calls come for the children in distress. 1091 happens to be the helpline for the women, and a lot of calls come across the country. Then we have got nearly 9,000 homes for children and many more thousand homes for women or other people. It would be worthwhile, sir, that these are also connected with the program. They are being run by the voluntary organizations. So another point I would like to make that, like for example, Prayas is running in Arunachal Pradesh. We are running primary health centers, community health centers, and also running quarantine centers with the help of government, with the help of an organization called the Foundation. Now this kind of association, this kind of integration would be of great value. If the voluntary organizations at the local level, everywhere they are there, if they are associated, connected with the local primary health centers, sub-centers, then they would be very useful. They can be very useful. So this is this kind of instruction. It might be of some value to you, sir. Sir, Arunachal Pradesh, as I mentioned to you, they have been able to send a lot of items recently. There were some difficulties in the beginning in sending items from other places. So that is, of course, easing up. I'm sure that things will improve. So another point I would like to information, sir, that it was high time that the livelihood programs, it doesn't directly concern health ministry, since you are coordinating everything. It was high time that the centers which are the income generation programs, the organizations who are today completely stand still. They are doing nothing and they are running income generation programs, livelihood programs, skilling programs. I mean, they could be opened up in those areas which happen to be in the green districts. They could be opened up. I mean, that suggestion I am making so that we are able to start the work and we are able to accommodate those people who happen to be the migrant workers on their return journey. So these are some of the points I thought I had mentioned. The places where we are having our programs and projects, and the information or the directions have gone to district magistrates and the local authorities. It would be worthwhile still, I would say that it would be worthwhile still that if the government gives further instructions and allows the volunteer organizations to connect the local government, the local district magistrates and other people, they would be of much more use. I mean, they are useful already, they are already working, but perhaps that would be more useful if some instructions go down.
Thank you, Amodji, for all your valuable suggestions. I will get in touch with the Bihar authorities. Also, you have raised some issues pertaining to that. You have yourself been a great, I think, soldier in the society, working for street children, and I know the efforts of Prayas for last 25 years. On number of occasions we have worked together also. You are yourself a very senior distinguished police officer. You know the administration side also, and I am sure that you are quite competent enough to handle the trivial issues, but even then, thank you for bringing many things to our notice, and together we will see that all of them are resolved very soon. Thank you for your cooperation and for helping the cause of COVID-19 mitigation.
Okay. Quickly, Mr. Jagdanand.
Thank you, Amitabh Ji and Honorable Minister. Let me tell you, after our first interaction with the Health Ministry on the stigma issue, we have launched a major campaign now against stigmatization and stigma by eminent people of the society. It's a society called to our fellow citizens. And almost all editors of the newspapers, all the senior media people, senior civil society leaders, NGO leaders, they're all involved. We have given a call, and then I'm sure that will have a very good success in times to come. The second part is, these problems are a long battle. It's not a short battle. Because it's a long battle, and we have a very fragile health system in the rural areas, and there is already a gap between people, physicians, and the health systems. The rural population has very limited options. Now patients have started self-medication, risking their own health. So what we are doing, along with health but a social enterprise, CYST is setting up virtual care platforms in rural Odisha. We are just starting like a small pilot in which the emotional health and the physical health needs are met virtually actually. It's a modular platform run by rural health entrepreneurs. Arogya Setu is, we promoted also through this, so which gives self-assessment, but PCPs can be, a source for a virtual triage between the patient or not the COVID patient, other patients, and the remote medical support. So this is very helpful for the Panchayat quarantine facilities. So I would request you, if this virtual care platform can be provided, a kind of big pilot in some states or in some areas on the basis of success, so that we can really take the healthcare to a big way in the rural areas. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir, for taking up the cause of stigma. I think after our last meeting, and I must compliment you and your organization for having taken up this cause. And then regarding the second subject that you raised, I think if you could give me a proper detailed formal proposal about what needs to be further, what is worth emulating by others. We'll certainly go into the details of this, and we'll put our National Health Mission people on the job and see how best we can use it to strengthen our healthcare delivery mechanisms in the rural sector. Thank you so much.
So I guess I'm the odd man out here because I am talking on behalf of the testing industry, and these days the slogan is test, test, test. And as you know, that first you test, then you detect, then you track, then you isolate, and then you treat. So very quickly, sir, I would like to say that the closing of these borders intermittently, first from the Ghaziabad border, and yesterday onwards the Faridabad border, this creates a lot of hardship for us. Our samples get stuck of COVID-19 samples. Our chief of laboratory who's testing this, he lives in Faridabad, and so on and so forth. The many doctors from India, from Delhi, they go to Faridabad. From Faridabad, they are not able to come here. So this has to be sorted out, sir, at your end only. We have written the letters, we have done everything, but every now and then these things keep coming up. Then secondly, sir, very quickly, quick decisions are also needed on few things. Now we are going into tomorrow into a different phase when all your industrial workers are going to be returning back for their work. So people like Maruti and many other industries are already asking me, Dr. Lal, do you have a test? So we have also recommended this, the pooling of RT-PCR tests, because antibody tests I'm not going to talk about. We don't have much faith on it right now. So RT-PCR for pooling of say 5 patients and above, this is also pending, sir. And also this will also help in the contact tracing of the positive patients in quarantined individuals. When you say that the asymptomatic people are becoming positive, they are actually people who are surrounding the positive patients. They are looking after them. So that is one. Next point was that we require, this is a time when we require everything at our disposal to fight this menace. And testing, we have committed to Delhi government that we can do 4,000 samples a day, and we have touched about 1,000 samples, and Delhi government gives us, till about 300, 400, 500, 600 every day. And we are now from Jammu and Kashmir till Rajasthan till now UP and Bihar, etc. They'll all be coming to us.
Thank you, Dr. Lal. Two issues that you raised in the beginning, I am requesting Mr. Amitabh Kant, he will flag them to the Home Ministry, and I will also follow it up. And regarding the third issue about the difficulties, etc., pertaining to tests within the private labs, just flag them to Dr. Balram Bhargav and send a copy to me, and we will see that what best we can do about them. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Thank you for giving us this opportunity, and thank you to the Health Minister and to NITI Aayog for reaching out to the society organizations and NGOs and recognizing their contribution to the fighting this whole issue. So in terms of the Tata Trust, we have been working on 4 key areas in terms of our response. One is the provision of PPEs and masks across states, which we have already started distribution because the procurement, as you know, to provide, as well as developing capacity building for medical staff. So we have worked with CMC in Vellore and CARE in Hyderabad to develop manuals and provide online training for all medical staff, especially aimed at intensive care and the 5% who would be at risk of death. That is available, and we have just piloted it in 4 or 5 hospitals, and we would be more than happy for open source and to provide that capacity building as is required. We have also launched a big communications campaign across all the program areas that work in 21 states, which has reached about 13 million people. And we're working with the Health Ministry on the 360-degree campaign to combat stigma and discrimination, along with UNICEF and the Gates Foundation, WHO, etc. So we're actively working on that. And then the other area is upgrading of facilities and hospitals 4 quarantine facilities and intensive care units. I think we started this in about 4 or 5 areas in UP and Maharashtra and Kerala. And we're also looking at particularly vulnerable groups. So the elderly, as Mr. Cherian mentioned. So we run a helpline in Telangana, and we have had a lot of queries and questions, and we have also done a small survey with about 5,000 elderly people in rural and urban areas who are facing great difficulties in medical care, in legal issues, knowing what their provisions. So as soon as we are just putting this together, and as soon as we get this, perhaps if that's okay, we can share it with you to see what could be done, and also with the Ministry of Social Justice and creating headlines. The other issues on migrant workers,
We are running out of time.
Thank you, Madam Cherian. Thank you, Tata Trust, for all the good work that you are doing. You mentioned about your contribution to the PPE things, and also about stigma, and also about capacity building, hospitals and other. I think we really laud the efforts of Tata Trust, and you are already doing so much of good work. Keep it up, and if there is anything that the government can do to support, in fact you are supporting the government, but if there is anything that you find as bottleneck in your dream of implementation of good things, please let us know. We'll certainly love to look after that. Thank you so much.
Mr. Vijay Sharma from Akshapatra, quickly please.
The Public Health Foundation of India has physical locations in 6 states, but has field offices across the country. And throughout all these locations, our own faculty and students have been playing an active role in multiple areas. Areas include technical support, field operations, community connect, as well as communications and capacity building. Just to very briefly enumerate, sir, our technical support has been available to multiple state governments, as well as to the National Technical Task Force at ICMR and its subcommittees. In terms of actual health system operations, our faculty and students at various states are actually engaged in contact tracing and isolation of the patients, as well as counseling, and also in community health education. In terms of primary health care physicians, in enhancing their capacity to deal with COVID and their understanding, we have been running webinars, and some of these webinars in partnership with the Research Information Systems of the External Affairs Ministry. We have actually covered not only Indian primary care physicians, but also in response to the Honorable Prime Minister's laudable initiative on creating a SARC platform. Our first webinar included the SARC countries. The second webinar has included 31 countries across the world, especially Southeast Asia, South Asia, and Africa, apart from a number of Indian primary care physicians. The second area, sir, where we have been working very actively is the area of communications. Apart from usual electronic and print media, we have also been focusing substantially on regional print and regional electronic media, because we believe a great deal of dissemination is required in the community through the regional channels. We have been partnering with All India Radio for a call-in question and answer program for demystification and destigmatization with All India Radio in Hindi programs. And we have also been working with children through a variety of communication programs addressed to children and young people. And we've been training youth volunteers as well to act as community resources. And we believe, sir, that in many of these areas, we can actually enhance our contribution. We've also been partnering a number of other NGOs and assisting them in their efforts, both with technical inputs as well as partnering in health communication, both for enhancing health literacy and understanding of the matters, and particularly also in the area of stigmatization. We believe, sir, just as Dr. Arvindal has mentioned, some of the travel barriers that are there between Haryana and Delhi are reducing some of our effectiveness, but that's a matter that we will try and address through other channels. But we thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Srinath Reddy. I am already familiar with the various activities of the Public Health Foundation of India. It is good that you enumerated all of them here in front of all the other people. So I think the rest of the people will also get inspired, especially those who are dedicatedly working in the field of health. Keep it up, and if there is anything in form of suggestion that you would love to give to the government, please feel free to let us know. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The last comment we'll have is from Mr. Vijay Sharma from Akshapatra.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. That Akshapatra Foundation has been serving, midday meal across the country from the very first week of the lockdown in the country. The Akshapatra Foundation, has been aiding the government of India, providing food relief to vulnerable communities such as laborers and homeless people across the country. The foundation is doing this through this network of kitchens, working closely with the government of India, state government, and other civil administrations. Sir, I would like to briefly notice that so far, the Akshapatra Foundation has served some 3,45,33,000 meals across the country in 13 states and union territories. Out of this, sir, there has been some almost 16 million cooked meals that we have served, and around 4,50,000 food kits that has the ration for 21 days for a family in across the country. So we have our kitchens at 54 locations, and we are working through our kitchens and our distribution networks with all the state governments and the local governments across the country. There has been some issues concerning, the logistics, supply chain and all that, but we have been, addressing it like this with all the states and, local authorities, and we are getting good support of the government of India and the local authority. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for giving this opportunity to brief you a little bit about our work across the country. Thank you.
Vijayji, thank you so much. In fact, I already had a huge amount of respect for the Akshapatra Foundation, but the way you have helped us in this cause right now during this moment of crisis for the country and the world with this COVID-19, and the way you have taken up this responsibility of helping millions of poor people in the country, providing them food, and that too also quality food in the best possible sustainable manner. I think our respect for your foundation increases manifold times. So congratulations, keep it up, and I'm sure many others will take a lot of inspiration from the good work that you are doing.
Last point, Action Aid, Mr. Sandeep, you wanted to say something.
Thank you, Honorable Minister and Shri Amitabh Kant, for the opportunity. I'll be very brief. I'll make 3 telegraphic suggestions for consideration. I'm not going to, based on the rounded experience of reaching about 10 lakh people in 21 states, so that's where it's coming from. The first, sir, is about community surveillance. So if we can have more decentralized and at the panchayat level, at the slum level, at the level of local colonies, community surveillance mechanisms with the heat trackers and thermal trackers, thermal scanners, some other basic facilities. So that's the first that needs to be enhanced, sir, across. That will be the future. The second, sir, going ahead, nutrition was pointed to. Wherever nutrition centers, community located nutrition centers are run well, things have happened well, such as in Jabalpur, where the government ran nearly 55 food camps in one district, along with several NGOs, so collaboration with civil society. But community nutrition centers, the chain of community nutrition centers across at the level of panchayats, decentralized levels would be very, very important and useful, sir. The third, I think, I submit is in terms of what is called community quarantine mechanisms. I had been touched on. We've also been running some isolation and quarantine mechanisms, largely at panchayat level or even at district levels, as well as in the urban mohallas. The mohalla issue was raised. So that's the third network that one could want to see forward as a suggestion. The fourth, sir, is with reference to PPEs. So I think reaching the frontline health workers apart from hospitals
nursing staff, police personnel. The question really would be of Anganwadi and Asha workers. So I think that in that direction, it will be a useful step as an input suggestion. And lastly, sir, the network of one-stop crisis centers that exist through the country, we were honored because you inaugurated Dr. Harshvardhan, our one-stop crisis center in Bhopal called Gauravi 6 years ago. You may remember it. So I think turning one-stop crisis centers, which are very closely located to hospitals and deal with women and help women, into a network of relief services, into a network of counseling facilities, as well as into a network of possibly recuperation facilities would be very useful across the country. With that, I'd like to thank you for the time given today. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandeep ji, for your valuable suggestions, and I am happy that you still remember that function that we did 6 years back, where the Chief Minister, Mr. Shivraj Singh Chauhan, Mr. Amir Khan, they were all present there. I think you are referring to that function only. So I am so happy that you are very, very actively involved in all the mitigation efforts, and keep doing the good work. All the NGOs, I think, I'm sorry that we couldn't talk to everyone because of paucity of time and the constraints that we work in, but I'm so happy and pleased to see the enthusiasm of the workers and the NGOs and very significant people in the society who are doing great amount of good work, even at the cost of their personal, time and all. They are dedicated so much of good time to the society. I am sure that you will continue doing this good work. Once again, to remind you that handling COVID or to protect yourself from COVID is no rocket science. The simple precautions that have been propagated, whether it is through the caller tune or through the SMS or through the messages by the Prime Minister or through radio or television, they are very, very simple. I think there is no other disease which has the simplest of messages by which you can protect yourself from the disease. Regularly washing your hands with soap and water. Also, unfortunately, I saw many of the speakers, they were not wearing this mask. You see, I would once again say that you must wear a homemade mask, preferably at all times, and more particularly when you are out of your homes and within your homes also. If you are wearing a mask, it protects you, it protects your friends, it protects your family members, and then also reminding you that we don't have to take our hands towards our mouth, nose or eyes. These are very, very simple precautions. And then I have said it on number of occasions that till the time we are able to find out a vaccine to protect a single individual, till that time social distancing, right now aided by the lockdown also, this is the most potent social vaccine for us. It doesn't cost you anything, because when the vaccine will come, it will cost us some money. But now the social vaccine that is available to us, which is a very simple thing, keep yourself at home, work from home, work according to the new normal that is developing for the society. It is not only for COVID, but I think it is for all future times. It is going to help us in a big way. Take care of elders at home. And even at home, maintain a distance from the elders, because they are the most vulnerable at this particular time. That is what the data also suggests. So I think these are very, very small precautions that we all need to take. So this is no rocket science, protecting yourself and your friends and your relatives from COVID. I wish you all good luck, good health. And I pray to God that very soon, not only India but the whole world should be able to win over COVID. And I'm sure that with the support of 1.35 billion Indians, we will be able to win the war against COVID very soon. And I would also like to thank Mr. Amitabh Kant here and all others who have helped all over the country in the organization of this particular meeting, where sitting in Niti Aayog, I have been able to communicate with thousands of all of you. I pray sincerely for the health of your families, and I once again, even at the cost of repetition, laud your great efforts. Thank you so much. And again, back to Mr. Amitabh Kant to sum it up finally.
No, sir, I just want to say that our apologies, we've not been able to cover some people, but the Honorable Minister has already spent 1 hour 40 minutes here. Thank you very much. We will, if you have anything, please send us a mail. We'll respond to this after discussing with the Honorable Minister. My personal apologies for this, that we could not cover some of you. But thank you so much. Thank you so much for having joined us from different parts of the country. We've had a very record viewing to today's interactive session. Thank you very much, sir, for having spent so much time with the civil society organizations and the NGOs. Thank you so much.
Thank you.